lethal attack in Dallas leaves 5 police officers dead, 7 wounded, 2 civilians. Aftershocks are felt in South Florida.
Protesters take to the streets across South Florida demanding attention to race, to justice and injustice.
The tragic events this week in Louisiana and Minnesota have community tensions obviously rising very high.
Local law enforcement leaders voice concern over police shooting deaths and solidarity with police in Dallas.
Good morning and welcome. So good to have you with us. It has been a difficult week on so many levels.
Difficult for all Americans and tragic for the police officers killed in Dallas and for their families. As you certainly know by now, 5 officers died while 7 other officers and 2 civilians were wounded in a hail of bullets fired by a 25-year-old Army reservist named Micah Johnson. He had done a tour of duty in Afghanistan. He told police he supported the Black Lives Matter movement and he was upset about the deaths of 2 black men shot by police earlier in the week.
Peaceful and passionate protests across South Florida and across the country focused attention on those shootings. In Minnesota, Philando Castile was pulled over for a broken taillight, and we don't see what happens just before the officer fires, but we do watch in real time what follows as his girlfriend, his fiancée, documents their experience live on social media. And a day earlier, through bystander videos, the nation watched police in Baton Rouge shoot Alton Sterling point blank several times. He had been selling CDs outside a convenience store when police were called there after reports of a man brandishing a gun.
We have Local 10 News reporter Andrew Perez live in Dallas, where continuing threats to the police department have that city on edge. Andrew, good morning. Good to see you. What is the latest in Dallas?
Yeah, well, good morning, Michael and Glenna. You know, it's really shocking for me anyways to come out here 3 days after this tragedy and to see that several city blocks are still completely shut down. I'm talking about hundreds of evidence markers just littered across the street. The FBI actually widening this crime scene today, finding additional shell casings, finding additional bullet holes in several walls around downtown Dallas. And then there's this, the front page of one of the papers out here. We're hurting, with pictures of the 5 fallen officers. Another photo right here, several police officers in front of the Dallas Police Department, where there's a giant memorial there, holding hands in prayer. As we learned firsthand, things are still tense out here.
All around the city, signs that something is wrong. Federal agents, streets still blocked off, officers in uniform on edge and taking precautions. Dallas police receiving threats the department took seriously.
Push back farther that way.
Responding with SWAT and rooftop snipers as officers went through a parking garage right behind the police department's headquarters.
It's overwhelming. The people that are out here.
Officers kept watch and stayed hidden. Reports of a suspicious man inside that garage Saturday. After an intense search, the all clear was given, but it was a stinging reminder of the harsh reality here.
People are a little fearful right now, so they're trying to get back to where they were before Thursday night.
The city is hurting after the brutal murder of 5 officers at the hands of a lone gunman. Micah Johnson would himself be killed afterwards. Despite the changes, the scenery, the dialogue that needs to happen, many are coming out to show support, condemning these vicious acts and praying for peace.
So you're taking a live look right now. This, to me, is just a very haunting image. This is that open parking garage where this man was holed up for several hours. And we actually just learned, ABC reporting, that Micah Johnson, the gunman, apparently wrote some lettering in his own blood on a wall in there where he was holed up. It's unclear what that lettering was, what he was trying to say. That's one of the things investigators trying to figure out. We know the FBI is still out here. They are doing sweeps. They're holding hands, spreading apart evenly, and walking all the way down, picking up any little thing on the ground that stands out. It's unclear exactly when these streets will open up. We're live in Dallas. I'm Andrew Perez, Local 10 News.
Andrew, thanks for that report.
Dallas and Louisiana, Minnesota. This time the violence, the confusion happened far from South Florida, but the issues that led to them resonate so clearly here. And we begin the conversation right there with our guests. Florida State Representative Barbara Watson, a Democrat who represents northern Miami-Dade County in the legislature and has done so since 2012.
Officer Malcolm Moise is a veteran with the City of Miami Police Department. He is at the forefront of that department's community policing initiative.
Jesse Cosme is an activist with the Black Lives Matter Alliance in Broward County, which has started a month-long call for criminal justice reform, I suppose starting with protests yesterday. We welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Great to have you come in. Officer Moise, I think you deserve to get the first comment here. You have a badge on today with a black band across it, honoring the fallen officers in Dallas. I have to say, have you ever felt like your life has been threatened because you wear a uniform?
I have felt that my life has been threatened, over the years of policing, and that's part of the job, and that's one of the frustrating parts of the job, that everything that you do, and just to have the uniform on, your life is threatened because you never know what to expect out of that person that you're encountering.
So every shift you leave hopeful, optimistic. I know your history is of helping people, not just policing, but you have some anguiety every day when you go out on the street.
I do have a history of helping people, and that's the love of my job. But we still have other people out there that don't represent the community, represent their individual opinion about cops, that put me in a threatened situation.
Your chief this week pointed out to a new class of a new set of officers coming in, that it's the minority of people on both sides, a minority in the police department who do wrong and a minority on the streets who do wrong. Representative Watson, I think the country seems to be sort of coming apart at the seams because this time there were police killings, but there were also police killed. And that juxtaposition really sort of changed the narrative here. Are there laws that need to be made, or laws that we have on the books now that need to be enforced? What do you think?
I think that there are several things that is happening here. We need to have a multitude of answers. There's just not one answer to complete this process. We have the opportunity to put into place laws that will work with gun control. We have laws in place that will do with policing. There's just so many parts of this problem that exist. And I think today I'm one of the unique people of this panel because my daughter is a police officer. And I am also African American with a son who had to be raised in South Florida. So I understand both sides of this particular issue.
Yeah. I want to get back to your son in a minute, but first I want to bring Jesse Cosme into this conversation. Jesse, you are a leader among the several leaders of the Black Lives Matter Alliance in Broward County. You had peaceful demonstrations yesterday. No problems there, but what are you marching for? 600 people in the streets in Fort Lauderdale. What's your demand?
We're marching for a multitude of things. I think one of the main things that I just want to point out is just the prioritization of community voice. Like even here in this panel, I was the last one to speak, and it was made clear that the officer should speak first because officers were killed. And granted, I'm not diminishing officer life.
Don't fault him, fault me.
No, I'm not faulting him in the slightest bit.
I thought it was proper to hear him first. But anyway, the question is, whatever order that you're speaking in is, what is the goal of Black Lives Matter in Broward?
The goal is to get the community respect back, to get value of community life back. And honestly, cops, when they take off their uniforms, they become community people. They are human beings. When they put on that uniform, a lot of times they're put in positions where they reinforce laws and policies that devalue human life. And that's why there have been 600 plus deaths in this country at the hands of law enforcement, but you look at every other developed nation, that's not the case. It's a fraction of that. So the value of human life has left the value of the human beings in society has left.
Yeah.
And that's what our priority is, and we understand that Black lives have been diminished more than anyone else in society.
You know, I don't think you can have that kind of conversation without introducing gun laws, because I don't want to speak for an officer, but I know, Officer Moyes, you patrol an area where people love you. I've watched that happen. You're a community police officer. People come up to you and tell you what a hero you are, but you also know on those streets that we all do, behind every other door, they may have an automatic weapon. So talk a little bit about, I mean, I'd like you to address that very good point with a police officer's point of view.
And you know, exactly what he's saying is one of the problems that we do have. And I think a few things can really stop these killings and everything that's going on with law enforcement in the community. One thing we have to do is we have to educate ourselves. The community need to educate themselves on what our policies are and how we do things as police officers. And I can tell you right now, 90% of those incidents that happen, I really believe that it could have been avoided if we had two things in perspective, and that's on both sides. Number one, respect, and number two, compliance. And a lot of people don't understand, especially our chief. He's very heavy on community policing, and that's why our department is in the boat that they're in now, as it pertains to doing good things with the community. And I can tell you right now that if people understand that, it's very rarely that you can win a fight on the street with an officer. Don't argue with him on the streets. You know, you let him do what he have to do, and when you get behind closed doors, you report him. And that's where he will learn his faith.
Can we put up some video, please, if we have it, of our trip together in your marked police unit on the streets of Overtown a couple of days ago? If we have this video of a gentleman walking up the street a block away from us, saw your marked unit, and put his hands up, and just kept walking with his hands up.
Right.
And to me, that was the defining image of how a community in fear of police officers live. And Representative, you said you have a son who's a law enforcement officer. When he was not an officer, did you ever coach him how to deal with police?
Well, actually, it's my daughter that's a police officer. My son is just a young youth that had to grow up.
I'm sorry, I thought you said your son was an officer.
No, it's actually my daughter. She represents the community in many, many ways because she's grown up in the community that she's really serving right now. So it's really important. I've had challenges when it came to my son. He was unnecessarily stopped for just being in the wrong kind of vehicle.
But did you ever teach I have friends who said, I've taught my children how to deal with a police officer interaction. You know, frankly, I have not taught my children that, never thought about a need to. But I have friends who have, and that's very telling to me.
And yes, I have had to do that. It has been necessary to say that you must be as polite as possible. You must say yes sir, no sir, even though that person has not offered respect to you at the time. But you need to generate or reflect respect for that individual back.
We're going to take a quick break, and Jesse, I'd like you to address that when we come back.
Sure.
Great, stay with us.
Welcome back on the Sunday morning, live in our studio. Miami Police Officer Malcolm Moyes, State Representative Barbara Watson, and Jesse Cosme, Black Lives Matter Broward Alliance. Jesse, let me ask you about the instance in Broward about, I guess, 18 months ago of Jermaine McBean. This was a 33-year-old black man who was walking home. He had just bought a pellet gun at a pawn shop, and he was carrying it. It was unloaded. And he was approached by police, and because Officer Peter Peraza said he felt threatened when Mr. McBean turned, he shot him to death.
Yes.
Now, this is a tragic case, and initially Officer Peraza, Deputy Peraza, was honored by BSO, but then the state attorney looked further into the case, and Officer Peraza was charged with manslaughter. So, first time since 1980 that an on-death fatal shooting by a police officer in Broward has been prosecuted. Now, we don't know, and I'm not trying to judge the innocence or guilt of Deputy Peraza, but it appears that the system is trying to work fairly in this case, isn't it?
I would disagree with you there. Giving the state attorney the credit to pursue charges on this case neglects all the work done by organizers to constantly protest, to bring the case back to his attention. It sat on his desk for 18 months before he made charges, and he has sat in that seat for 36 years without making charges on anyone else before. So I want to make sure that that's clear, that this wasn't just a state attorney deciding this on a whim. We had sat with him many times before, and we also had many protests with the McBean family.
And excuse me, I don't want to de-emphasize the ongoing, persistent role of you and many other people in demanding that charges be filed in this case. But in the end, it was the state attorney, Mike Satz, who made the decision.
Yeah, and there's a lot of layers behind that into whether or not Peraza can be convicted for this because of the protection of the Police Bill of Rights and the perceived threat. If he feels like he perceives a threat, he has authority to fire. And Officer Morse, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Yeah, but it's going to go to a jury trial.
Yes,
and
but that makes it very difficult for a jury to convict because it protects him, even if he wasn't truly in any threat. If he perceives a threat, then he has the authority to kill Jermaine McBean, which is wrong.
But these are all issues for a jury to decide. I guess my point is that, you know, for the first time since 1980, where an on-duty officer is indicted, it shows, I think, a changing mindset among prosecutors.
It is a great step in the right direction, and I guess my inclination as an organizer is to always push for the full justice.
Sure.
Just to get an indictment is not enough in that situation, where every other eyewitness said that Jermaine McBean never pointed that weapon at the officers. The only people who say that are the officers themselves.
You know, you bring up an excellent point about perception of threat. Officer Moyes, perception is such a subjective thing. Is there an institutional racism in police perception? In other words, will a police officer pull a gun and shoot a black man faster than a white man doing the same thing?
I can't really say if they will, because it all depends on the individual. You don't understand. You know, our policy is when you feel that you or another person is an imminent threat, that's your personal feeling, and everybody threat level is different. Whereas, you know, somebody might point a gun at someone and discharge the firearm because their threat level is lower than another person's threat level. And sometimes, like I said, it depends on the area that you're in, how comfortable you're in that area, how comfortable you are around the people that you're working with. And what we don't understand is there's a lot of things that's going on out in the world today. We have these terror threats. We have so many different type of violent crimes that's happening. And while these things are happening, you put the police officers out in that environment, and all of these things are going in the back of their head. So it's a very difficult position. You know, you don't know when you can sort of feel the threat sometimes, and sometimes you can't feel the threat, but guess what? You must be ready at all times.
Yep. Representative Watson, jump in here. I know you wanted to say something.
Yes, I'd like to say in the 2016 session, I introduced a bill that I think would have addressed a little bit some of the issues that we're discussing here. And that bill simply gave the opportunity to have a review committee come in, an oversight from the state of Florida committee to come in, do an independent study to find out whether these shootings are justified when it has a fatality in it, or it's aggressive behavior on the parts of the police departments. Miami-Dade and Broward County may do an excellent job, but this is not uniform across the state of Florida. This would require that there would be activists on this panel of oversight. It would be retired police officers. It would be a coroner's department representation on that panel. And once they come to their determination as to whether it's a justified shooting, they would present their findings to the AG, or which would be Pam Bundy in this case, and she would determine whether she would prosecute. We would take it out of the hands of the local individuals to make that decision so that it will be a fairness, so that we can see justice at work.
Well, it's an interesting idea, but your bill didn't go very far.
Not at all.
No, I'm not surprised. All right, hold on. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of our guests in this important discussion in just a minute. Live in our studio on the Sunday morning, we are talking about the deaths of 5 police officers in Dallas and also the deaths in St. Paul of Philando Castile and Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge. And Jesse Cosme, the killer in the murderer in Dallas, Micah Johnson, said he was acting on behalf of the Black Lives Matter movement, although he had never apparently had contact with Black Lives Matter.
So just for clarity of verbiage, he said that he followed and he supported what Black Lives Matter movement did, but he wasn't associated with them, he wasn't working in accordance with them, he wasn't working on behalf of them.
I'm glad to have that clarified. I just want to sort of get you on the record here as a thoughtful and humanistic person. I'm sure you simply deplore the deaths of these officers in Dallas and what happened there.
Surely. The devaluation of human life in its totality is deplorable. Officers are human beings, just like everyone else, right? The people who are killed by these officers are human beings, just like everyone else. Whether they're good cops, bad cops, no one deserves public execution. That's the reality.
Right.
You know what I think the game changer this week was social media. I think you have now, what's going on now has been going on. There is no doubt about it. It's been going on for years, maybe generations. But social media allowed people who never see into the lives of police officers, who never see into the lives of people who live in different communities than they do, in real time live what this, and especially Castile's fiancée, has gone through. And she herself apparently is so familiar and so comfortable with social media. It was in her DNA to put it up. And I think that is such a game changer. Jesse, maybe you can speak to that, because this shows people who don't have a stake in it personally, now they have a stake in it personally as a human being because they've seen it.
Definitely, and I would say I'm a little torn on it. Because yes, it brings a very humanistic part of it and makes you really feel it and relate to it. At the same time, that's very traumatizing, especially as Black people growing up in America, to see this kind of devaluing of human life. Like the cop sees him bleeding out in the car and doesn't once think to call the ambulance. Like that is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. His kid is in the back seat, 4-year-old. Like, that's a very traumatizing experience. There's been a lot of tears, there's been a lot of crying, and that's why actually tomorrow we have today we have a restorative justice space to deal with some of those emotions that are going on.
Yeah. Representative Watson, I need to ask you, there have been attempts in the last legislature to allow guns on college university campuses in the state, to pass an open carry law. They were defeated, thanks in large part to State Senator Miguel Diaz de la Portilla of Miami, but they're going to come back, and these bills are going to be there. What are you going to do? You're going to fight them, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to organize throughout the various universities and colleges throughout the state of Florida to become very involved in reaching out to their representatives to make certain that they understand that it is a problem and that we should not have these guns on campus. We have children that are going to be there as young as maybe 17, and the people who are going to be eligible to carry the guns can be as much as 21 years old. So there is a huge disparity with the freshmen and the sophomores and all these individuals not being able to have the guns, but we have other individuals that can. So I just don't think it's fair, and I think it's causing intimidation, whether it's to the professors. I don't like my grades, so well, here's my gun.
The faculty of Florida universities uniformly across the board said we don't want guns on our campuses, and college presidents as well.
You want to weigh in on that? What would that law mean to law enforcement?
Again, guns is not the problem, it's the people. And when we have so many people carrying guns, is more of a threat to police officers, because it's their mental state and other things that can cause them to utilize that gun in the wrong way.
All right, that's going to be the last word. And Officer Moyes, publicly, we want to compliment you. You not only are an outstanding police officer, we know, but you're an outstanding humanitarian. You go into the Overtown community, you help the kids there, they love you, they respect you, and thanks for everything you do.
And I love them too. I love my whole Overtown community.
Thanks so much. Coming up next, we take this and so much more to today's Powerhouse Roundtable. Stay with us. Welcome back. We have a lot to talk about on the roundtable today and a panel of people who are not known to hold back. Billy Corbin, case in point, a documentary filmmaker based in Miami. Cocaine Cowboys and The U are among his credits. Marlene Hill is an attorney with the Hamilton, Miller, and Berthasell law firm in Miami. Also hosts a radio talk program on community issues. H.T. Smith is a Miami attorney and law professor at Florida International University. He is also a longtime leader in the civil rights movement in South Florida. Welcome
Good
all.
morning, gentlemen. Great to have you come in.
A lot of men here today.
Well, a lot of smart men, and we've had a smart
and then
lady
Billy.
here,
And then the
token. H.T., let me just get you to sort of weigh in on this. I can't remember a week like this in a long time where I think the nation has been rocked first by the shooting deaths of the men in Baton Rouge and St. Paul, and then this horrendous, horrific attack in Dallas. I think we're all kind of just rocked by this.
Yeah, the last time the nation was rocked like this was back in '67 and '68.
Yeah.
With the riots across the nation in '67, and then after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King.
And Robert F. Kennedy.
And Robert F. Kennedy. Yeah. But Miami has been rocked like this before in '80, '83, and '89 with the riots that we experienced.
Right.
These are very difficult times. We have had these divisions. It's just that the police community interaction exposes the racial divide that has always been in this nation since blacks were stolen from Africa and brought here as enslaved. And so it's always there. We need to have the conversation.
Does that mean we have come nowhere since then?
No, we've made progress. You know, it's like walking from, traveling from Florida to Washington State. You're in Texas, you say, man, I've come a long way. And then you look forward and you say, we've got a long way to go. Of course we've made progress, but one of the things that we've got to really make progress in is with regard to community police relations. We understand how important police are to our democracy. We have to give them responsibility and discretion and the benefit of the doubt. But a badge for a police officer should not be a license to get away with murder. Police cannot be above the law. And that's what most in the black community see today and feel.
And it's really a public health issue, if you ask me. You know, right now, we're worshiping in different places. We live in different neighborhoods. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., everyone has to go back to work. And no one is asking, how are you feeling today? How do you feel about last week? You know, how do you guys feel? Actually, I wanted to ask you guys. Because seeing it on social media, as you said in the previous segment, it is traumatic. Physically, mentally, it does impact us emotionally.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, when I watched the video that Castile's fiancée posted, I was just stunned. I mean, I could hardly speak. Watching this man die and hearing her speaking to the police officer and saying, sir, I'm not doing anything, and knowing this little girl, a 4-year-old, is in the back seat. I mean,
and her humanity came out at the end, right, when she said to her mom, "I'm here, mommy, for you."
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, ripping.
Yeah, Billy,
is that good or bad? I mean, is that you heard Jesse in the last segment say, well, you know, that was kind of traumatic, but I don't know. There's a positive program there.
Well, what's interesting about this is that it's also a tech story. It really is. America is now being exposed. It's much in the same way that Dr. Dre and NWA got to say, see what we were telling you about all this time with Rodney King. It's really happening, and it's still happening. So I think the tech story is very compelling. What's interesting about it is the very next day after Dallas, I was out and about in the community. I went to Walmart. I went to a few places, pretty diverse populations, places with diverse populations, and I hadn't felt that feeling since I was in New York post 9/11. There was kind of a warmth among people, or shared trauma among people, because you had you had Sterling, you had Castile, then you had Dallas, and so there was kind of a connection between people that instead of the division being greater, it seemed that we had a shared trauma that maybe will be a little bit more helpful in terms of mending this and moving forward.
And I think as we go forward the conversation, I think a lot of people will begin to discuss, listen, and understand that you can be for police officers and for law enforcement, but still understand that when police officers violate the law, that they have to be held accountable. Right. You've got to do more than just say, we're going to give you paid leave. Because on my side of the railroad tracks, that means a vacation. That's not a punishment.
Micah Johnson was held accountable. That's what happened.
Yes.
He killed 5 police officers, allegedly. He faced the harshest justice that there is, and perhaps justifiably so if indeed he was guilty. But all the senseless killing on the street has to either stop, or the people responsible, I don't care what color you are or what your occupation is, must be held accountable.
Absolutely.
Well,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that bringing it back to South Florida, we have, in addition to the Jermaine McBean case, there was the case in Palm Beach Gardens where an on-duty undercover cop without any identification, late at night, 3 a.m., pulls over by the broken down SUV of Corey Jones. And Corey Jones, who legally had a permit to have a gun, is scared. He gets out of the car. He's on the phone to 911 and is shot to death by this cop. Now, the cop has been indicted and charged with manslaughter. So I think that in its own way, that is a marker for how we are changing, isn't it, Marlon?
It is. And, you know, we really have to also dedicate more resources to law enforcement agencies to help them with de-escalation, help them to understand the sensitivities of explicit and implicit bias. This takes money and budget. And, you know, we're in election season. We're going to hear a lot more about this as we go along into the presidential season. But definitely think that...
I'm sorry, where is the NRA on this? Philando Castile, legal carry permit. Corey Jones, legal carry permit. Where is the NRA when young men of color who are legally carrying weapons, the case in Broward, you just spoke, he was carrying a pellet gun that he just bought at the store. Right. I think it was the case in Ohio at the Walmart. We had the young man who was actually had a gun that was being sold in the store. He was essentially, it's like carrying around groceries in a store and getting shot for having a product that you're about to buy in the store. I mean, where is the NRA on this, or do they just stand up for the Second Amendment rights of white people in this country?
And we just lost Elie Wiesel. And we should remember what he taught us, and that is that we will not be able to prevent all injustice, but there should never be an injustice that we fail to protest. And I think that the Black Lives Movement, and by the way, it doesn't say only Black Lives Matter. It's not an exclusion, it's a focus. It's a focus because of 250 years of slavery, 100 years of American-style apartheid called segregation. You remember when I was on the show before and I told you in the 70s how the police would write on the police report, NHI, so everybody would know, no human involved, or black victim. Those lives didn't matter, so all we're doing is focusing on the fact that there's a dual sense of justice and a dual sense of outrage, whether it's the NRA, our political figures, or a majority of the community. And hopefully we will see more progress like we're beginning to see. But you must keep the pressure on.
Is this a tipping point this week?
Definitely a tipping point. I think needle on indifference, as Elie said, we can't afford to really stand by and allow the devaluation of life, any life. This needle definitely moved this week for sure. I feel it.
Period. The end for this segment. 2 minutes. We'll come back. We've got a lot more to talk about. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We are in the midst of a very, I think, interesting roundtable with H.T. Smith, Marlon Hill, Billy Corbin, and Glenna. I think that although I may be vilified by gun lovers for doing this, I simply have to bring up the fact that the killer, Micah Johnson, Billy, in Dallas, was using what is described as an AK-47-like semi-automatic weapon, which can fire, even though it's single fire, it can fire a couple of hundred bullets a minute. You have to change out the magazines, but I mean, isn't it time to also have a conversation about banning those guns as they were from 1992 to 2004?
I think it's long time coming to have that conversation, perhaps overdue. The issue is, of course, that there is a constitutional amendment. There is the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights that allows us the right to bear arms. Now, I understand that there are issues versus the interpretation of that and the strict constructionalist view of that. But I think that the problem becomes, everybody says it's not the guns, it's the people behind the guns. The problem is that we're not doing a good enough job of keeping those extraordinarily deadly weapons away from those people. So now we have to have a conversation about what we do about those guns.
Well, people would have noted, and people should note, that in fact Micah Johnson had no criminal record, so he could have gone out, and he did apparently have an arsenal of guns. You can't stop somebody who has criminal intent in their heart as long as they have no history of mental illness or a criminal record.
Yeah, I'm a military veteran of the Vietnam War. I am a gun owner. I have a concealed firearm permit. I am strongly in favor of the Second Amendment. But I cannot believe for the life of me that our founders could have envisioned cannons, bazookas, and military-style weapons at the time. They had muskets. You fire one round, and you took a while for you firing it. Look, military-style guns are for the purpose of mass murder or wartime.
Warfare.
I think we did the right thing from 92 to 2004 when we banned those type of weapons. I believe strongly in the Second Amendment, but I don't see why you need a military-style weapon. And if they keep shooting down police officers like that, the public, right now the NRA is more powerful than the American public, but I see the tide changing, and we're going to be able to do what Billy said, and that is to keep. Look, no one law will change it, but we will be able to make it harder for people who are deranged and who have records to get their hands on weapons.
We just celebrated our 240th year in our country just a week ago this week. Imagine that, right? Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and we are picking money over the security and safety of our people. Basically, that's the bottom line, right? So the Constitution grants us the right to have the Second Amendment and to own guns, but right now, America feels very anxious, very insecure about our own safety, and we have to do something about that part of our Constitution.
To be fair, the Founding Fathers also could never have conceived of the internet, which has extended our First Amendment rights beyond their wildest dreams, such as we're literally beaming live around the world the aftermath of a police shooting as we saw this week. They probably couldn't have conceived of abortion clinics either, but these rights have been extended out of the existing document that they so brilliantly conceived. The problem is, the Second Amendment exists, and you have to have a legitimate debate about it if you want to amend our Constitution and start to what a lot of America perceives is taking away a constitutional right.
And the legitimate debate isn't happening because the sides are so polarized.
Every right has limitations. Right. You can't say anything you want to. You can't say fire in a theater. Just
you can't drop an F-bomb on our program.
And you can't drop an F-bomb. That's exactly right.
All right.
We can, but you'll get fined.
Should we try? I want to move on to what I see as a positive step that happened in Miami-Dade County this week. The Miami-Dade County Commission picked a related urban development group to rebuild Liberty Square as Liberty Square Rising. More than 1,500 beautiful housing units that would be welcome in Kendall or Fort Lauderdale or anywhere else. $307 million. I mean, this is not the panacea, but if you start with, a wonderful place to live for people who now live in squalor, that's a good thing.
For residents who are not familiar with Liberty Square or Liberty City, this is a development that was after the World War II. And so
Actually,
many
1936.
Before.
Yeah,
so many decades after, we're just now doing something about improving the housing conditions of our residents, our citizens, our neighbors, our co-workers. This is definitely a positive step, but this project will definitely need accountability to make sure that this is delivered. Every single line in that agreement needs to be monitored very closely.
With $300 million, we should be making 2 or 3 black millionaires as well. What has happened in the past, things have been done to our community, and lately a few things have been done for our community. Because of lessons learned, hopefully things will be done with the community. And when I heard that the community itself was in favor of this particular proposal, I liked it. I liked it as more holistic. I was a part of the Hope 6 project around Gwen Cherry Park and Scott Carver. A lot of mistakes were made there, and it looked like they're learning from those mistakes and trying to prevent replicating this.
One of the worst mistakes with that, I'm not holding you accountable, was a lot of people who lived in the James C. Scott Carver projects were moved out during the construction, and there were fewer units built, and they had nowhere to come back to.
Well, our youth center We have championship football team and a lot of educational. People were sent down to Homestead. We had to go down to Homestead every day, pick them up, bring them to practice, and bring them back. That was a lie that was told, and we hope that doesn't happen this time.
And that's not going to happen this time. The promises have been made. They will be monitored closely.
You know, with the
How do you know that? I think I pray for the people in Pork and Beans. They deserve this project, but they've been lied to by every single mayor, by every single commissioner. They've been lied to by every single developer. Promises have been made time and again, and they have gotten the short end of the stick every single time. So what's to say that this time is going to be any different? You see pictures of Audrey Edmondson shaking hands with the head of Carlisle, who were the largest developers in Florida of affordable housing, indicted now. They're defrauded the federal government and our most vulnerable citizens out of $36 million. I hope that this is going to be different this time, but who's to say? Where is the accountability?
That's our job.
They're on the record.
We need to put on the record the fact that Commissioner Edmondson voted for related, even though she had been in favor of the competitor, the successor company.
And made the motion, the motion as well.
Maybe she wants to see Liberty Square named for her as well.
Well, I think that accountability is the key. Accountability for the community and the media. We've got to see, as this project moves along, that they keep every promise made. And every promise broken has to be exposed, and somebody needs to pay for it.
We certainly have our responsibility as ours as well. Thank you all for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Jen.
As always.
Thanks for having us.
And still to come, the politics of Zika. And that's next.
And here is a live look now from our Miami Tower Cam. Beautiful out there.
Weather Authority meteorologist Jennifer Correa is here with the Sunday forecast. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Glenna. Hi, Michael. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, South Florida. It's 90 degrees in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. A bit warmer for Pembroke Pines and Hialeah, already reaching 91. This is what it feels like out there. It feels like the triple digits for Key West and Marathon. Almost there, though, for much of South Florida, though. No rain on land, just a few showers and thunderstorms scattered across the west coast of Florida and the Panhandle. We are going to bring up those rain chances starting tomorrow. So this is quite a change in our forecast. As you know, we've been dealing with mainly dry conditions. And again, today, it's only a rain chance of 20%. So it goes up to 40 by tomorrow. Heading out to the beach today, make sure you use that sunscreen. We can still warm up. Highs today hitting 92 degrees for Miami. 90 tomorrow. We'll have a few showers for Monday morning. And then thunderstorms returning in the afternoon on Tuesday.
Jennifer, thanks. With the focus this week on how to stop the shootings, another death did not make many headlines. A woman in Utah has become the nation's first death associated with the Zika virus. A few weeks ago here, the first baby with Zika-related microcephaly was born in Florida. Especially in Florida, the threat of a Zika epidemic is real. The potential damage involves families, public health, social services, the economy, tourism, and that's according to every medical expert and scientist on the front lines. No politics there, only clinical-based concerns that a population of mosquitoes and unprotected people will have dire consequences in a generation of brain-damaged babies. So you may be asking, why on earth would funding to fight it be bogged down in partisan fighting? Congress has one more week to get that done before leaving for the summer. The CDC, scrambling around that limbo, has advanced $25 million to communities most affected. Florida got more than $1 million. Governor Rick Scott has signed off on a $26 million emergency allocation, and that will pay for things like trapping and testing and eliminating the Aedes aegypti and the Asian tiger mosquito populations, teaching people how to do their part, vaccine research, and critically important, testing every pregnant woman for the virus that could do such harm to her developing baby. Recently, one mosquito control expert told me, as of now, we will probably learn someone in Florida has been locally infected by Zika before we learn that mosquitoes here even have it. That said, consider the CDC's estimated life costs for one baby born with microcephaly, like the baby born here recently, could top $10 million. So what do you think about that or anything? We invite you to weigh in on any topic you like.
We think Congress should act here. Reach us on Twitter, email. We'd like to hear from you. Or remember, stay informed, get involved.
Have a beautiful Sunday.